Stand, and Mr. John, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this is the Planning and Zoning Board and also the local planning agency. It is an advisory board which makes recommendations to the county commissioners who will make the final decision on all these items. Items G7, G9, G11, G13, G16, and G18 are LPA items. Items on today's agenda will be heard by the County Commission on September 7th at 5 p.m. right here in the Commissioner's room. When a motion ends in any type of a split vote, a roll call vote may be taken to ensure accuracy. As a reminder, each member who makes a motion or a second needs to turn their microphone on so that your voice is on the record. Speakers for the public comment on agenda items will be given 5 minutes. At this time, if any board member has had any ex parte communication regarding any application, please disclose so now. All right, seeing that, I ask the board for approval of the P&Z minutes from July 17th, 2023.
Move for approval.
Okay, we got a motion by Debbie, a second by John. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed unanimously. All right, item G1 has been withdrawn, so we're going with G2.
Good afternoon. Item G2, Robert A. Kline requests a change of zoning classification from GU to AUL. Application number 23Z00042, tax account 2404044, located in District 1.
All right, sir, if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Good afternoon. My name is Robert Kline. I live at 3600 Oneida Street in Cocoa.
And a little bit, Mr. Kline, about what you're wanting to do.
Sure. I'm here today with my wife Amanda and my daughter Miranda, and we would like to change our zoning from a general use, which it is currently, to an agricultural residential low intensity for the purposes of having a horse on our property. My daughter Miranda has, about 6 years ago, she started therapy riding, and she really blossomed under it, and it helped her a lot with her strength and confidence and core stability and all. And she's doing really well independently now, and we realized to kind of take it to the next step, it would be really helpful for us to have a horse actually on our property where she could also care for it, not just be a once a week sort of thing. So we also had the opportunity to adopt the horse she was riding earlier this year. So we looked into what we would need to do to make that happen, and we realized that we weren't zoned properly for it. When I moved out there to Canaveral Groves originally, many years ago now, there were several horses on properties real close to us, and I thought like it was just everybody had the same zoning. Now I realize that is not the case. So my wife visited the Planning and Zoning Board, and they gave her some options because we'd rather not move. That's always, of course, an option. But we love our neighborhood and our neighbors, and they're all real supportive of this. So we would like to stay there. So we approached this route of changing the zoning. So that's it. We respectfully request that change if possible.
All right, well, Mr. Kline, just be ready because I know Mr. Ron's going to have some questions for you.
Sure.
But they're going to be simple ones.
Okay.
Mr. Ron.
Did I hear you right? You're saying you actually got the horse that she was doing with her therapy?
We had the opportunity to adopt the horse she was riding. Unfortunately, when we found out about the zoning thing, we weren't able to act on it, so it went elsewhere. But she still continues to do to ride a different horse, and we just want to be ready if it came up again.
Okay. You have options to get a horse that's actually therapy trained?
Now she's really just riding normally. So she started out with the therapy thing years ago, and therapy is kind of like leading them around. She rides independently now on her own, and She's not the best at it, but you know, with the right horse, she does really well.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Sir.
Mr. John?
Yes. Are you going to build a shelter for the horse?
Yes, we'll have to fence in the property or replace the fence that's pretty inadequate now, and we'd probably build a sort of a small run-in, run-out. Not a barn would not be the right way to describe it. It would be more like a shed.
Or a pole barn or something?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
And where will you keep the feed?
That would, I'd probably build that as a part of that, you know, with like an enclosed room to keep it, you know, safe and secure and out of the weather and all. But the rest of it would just be, you know, pole barn on the regular ground without, you know, slab or anything like that. And we've got quite a bit of territory in our backyard for that.
Yeah, and I understand that you went to the Board of Adjustment
Yes, sir.
and they approved your
Yeah, we
Your
needed a
variances?
couple variances for our lot,
okay,
and they did approve, yes.
very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? No, I'm asking from the board first. All right, seeing that, anyone in the audience want to speak for or against this item? That's a good sign. Seeing that, I bring it back to the board.
Move
Mr.
for
Chairman,
approval.
I believe the request is consistent and compatible with the surrounding area, and I move that we recommend approval of this zoning change.
Okay, Mr. Ron, I had a motion by Debbie. Would you second that then?
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion by Debbie, a second by Ron. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed unanimously.
Thank you all very, very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, item G3.
G3, SRR Property Investment LLC requests a change of zoning classification from RU17 to BU1A. Application number 23Z00039, tax account 2423790, located in District 2.
Is the applicant here? Sir, if you could get as close as you could to the mic there and state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. Brian Russo, address 121 Arabian Court, St. Augustine, Florida.
All right, a little bit about what you're wanting to do.
Looking to change zoning of this parcel from residential to BU1A for professional office.
All right. Anyone on the board have any questions for him before I take it to the audience?
You stated that you're doing a 2,500 square foot professional office.
Approximately, I don't have a site plan completed by an architect yet, but
Okay.
I'm not looking for any variances with respect to maximum density or setbacks. So whatever.
How many stories will it be?
Single story.
Single story? Okay.
Florida coastal design, metal roof, wraparound porch. Ideally, we'd like to position the building as close to Atkinson as we can within setbacks, so we can have the parking in the back of the property. Goal would be to have the property fenced on the east, north, and west side, 6-foot privacy fence, so not to create any distraction to the neighbors.
So it'll look like a residential?
It'll look like a residential home, that's my goal,
Okay,
yes.
and I thought that's what you would do. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, seeing that, I take it out to the audience. Anyone want to speak for or against this item? Okay, I bring it back to the board.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion by John, a second by Brian. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed unanimously.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, item G4.
G4, Daniel A. and Lindsey E. Alf request a change of zoning classification from BU1 to BU2. Application number 23Z00045, tax account 2719528, located in District 4.
All right, Mr. Bruce.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Bruce Moia, President of MBB Engineering, representing the applicant. So today, what we have before you is a request to go from BU1 to BU2. And what I did is I passed out basically the corridor of Aurora, where it's kind of like a county enclave, basically, from Wickham to Stewart. And you can see how much BU2 there is. The zoning map in your package kind of stopped, and I just wanted you to see that there was quite a lot of BU2 already on Aurora Road. And I'm sure you're all familiar with Aurora Road and all the businesses that have been there for a long time, whether some of them are even conforming to their zoning, I don't know, but it's pretty heavy commercial. So this certain applicant would like to have BU2 on his property because he's looking into outdoor boat and RV storage.
Any questions from the board before I take it to the audience?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead,
Just-
Mr. John.
Is your client Land Vision Investments LLC?
I know him by Dan Alf. I don't know what the company is exactly.
Okay, did they have a company? Because that's what's showing up on the property.
If whatever's on the property appraisers, if that's what the property is under, then that would be him.
Okay. Okay. They want to do outdoor boat storage and RV storage.
Yes, sir.
Is Ron going to ask for a PDP?
I don't know, is he?
Yes?
Yes, he is.
Since
Okay.
you brought that up, yes. Thank you for the lead-in.
You're welcome. I'll turn it over
Bruce?
to Ron.
Are you willing to have a BDP that would restrict the BDU2 uses to only the outdoor storage and then any BU1 uses?
I can talk to the client. I'm sure he wouldn't have any objection to it. I
Okay.
can't speak for him now. He's not present, but it wasn't anything we expected. So I will definitely ask him. And if that's something that the county commission's, if that's a recommendation you want, and the county commission requests that, then we will have a draft ready for the meeting.
Any other questions from the board? Seeing that, I take it out to the audience. Anyone want to speak for or against this item? Yes, ma'am. If you could come up to the podium here and get as close as you can to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Cristobal, 440 Thomas Drive.
And you can pull that microphone down toward you. There you go.
Cristobal, 440 Thomas Drive.
Okay.
So my only question is, when we got this in the mail, it made it sound like it was going to be retail, warehousing, wholesale, commercial. I know he has a commercial landscaping business. So our only concern is he is not going to come in and use our little circle of Alton Estates as his entryway. Are they going to put culverts on Aurora? Because we don't want any heavy construction equipment or any kind of,
That would all be decided, man, with the site drainage or site plan. Is that correct, Mr. Jeff? Yes, sir. So this is just strictly zoning.
okay.
Yeah, and they would delineate all that whenever they go through the engineering and all for the project.
We have kids that ride bicycles and different things, and that would just be not
I'm
good.
sure Brevard County will protect them.
Okay.
All right.
All right, that's my only concern.
Okay,
Thank
ma'am.
you, appreciate it.
Anyone else want to speak for or against this item? Mr. Bruce, can you come back up?
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Jeff, with this being commercial, if we did, I mean, even with its current zoning, if you were to put anything there, you wouldn't be able to go through the residential part of the neighborhood to get to it, could you? But that,
I would leave that up to the engineers unless you put a BDP condition on there that access will be from Aurora Road only. I don't know if you get access from Lewis Street meets our county code as far as allowable to have that. So without having a BDP restriction, that's the only way to know for sure that they can't have access through Lewis Street.
okay, thank you. Does your,
Yeah, and just so you know, we have no intention to access that residential street. We would, being commercial, we would want to access Aurora.
I would think so.
And we would have to build a concrete block wall on our back property line, so we wouldn't be able to have access to it anyway, because that's residential and we're commercial.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We got a motion by Brian, a second by Debbie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Moyer. Item G5.
Yes, item G5, RNK Vieira, Inc. requests CUP for alcoholic beverages, beer and wine only, for on-premise consumption in conjunction with a bar in a PUD zoning classification, application 23Z 00050, located at tax account number 3024416 in District 4.
Is the applicant here? Sir, if you could state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Cliff Reppinger. My business address is 2101 Waverly Place, Suite 100, Melbourne, Florida. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Whitebird, and we represent the applicant.
Okay. A little bit about what you're wanting to do here.
Property is located on the east side of Lorkey Lane, south of Hennessy Place. We are seeking a conditional use permit for alcohol for on-site consumption for beer and wine only. This is for a wine bar, Venezia Wine Bar. The property has an approved site plan. 21 SP 00033 was approved, I believe, in 2022. We were also approved by, this is located in Vieira. We were approved by Vieira Company in November 2022 for the proposed use. Our application explains in detail all of the criteria under 62-1901 C1 and 2. I don't know if you want me to go through those, but they're referenced in the staff report. It's Venezia Wine Bar is the name of the plant facility.
I mean, I wouldn't need it. Would anyone on the board need him to go through all those?
No.
So we're good there. Go ahead.
And with that being said, we just respectfully request that you grant the request for the CUP. If you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer them.
All right, I'm going to take it to the audience here first. Anyone in the audience want to speak for or against this item? Don't leave too quick. Now come on back. All right, seeing that, I bring it back to the board.
You know, I thought we've issued everybody in Brevard County a CUP for alcohol. And Cliff, you come up and surprised me. I'd make a motion that we approve the CUP for that location.
I'll second it.
Okay, you got a motion by Henry, a second by Brian. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed unanimously.
We appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
All right. Okay, item G6.
Yes, item G6, Thomas P. and Shannon Harmony request change of zoning classification from GU to AU, application 23Z 00044, located at tax account number 2504668 in District 2.
Okay, sir, if you could state your name and address for the record.
Tom and Shannon Harmony, 2190 Rockledge Drive.
And a little bit about what you're wanting to do, Mr. Tom.
We exchanged some property with our neighbor on Plucky Balm Road, and it was to make our both lots more easy to access and beneficial to each other. And so we just want to change the zoning from GU to AU because we board horses and we want to use it as agricultural.
All right, well, I know Mr. Ron's going to have some questions for you later. But seeing that, I'll take it out to the audience. Anyone want to speak for or against this item? All right, seeing that, I bring it back to the board. Mr. Ron, you have any questions for him?
Yes, you mentioned agricultural. Are you going to be doing any commercial uses? And related to that, would you be willing to use agricultural low intensity instead of agricultural? The reason is agricultural low intensity means you basically don't do commercial uses on it.
I'm not sure of the difference.
We're going to
But
pasture
it's,
horses on it.
we just want it to be the same zoning as the rest of the property we have there.
I know, but eventually that property will go to somebody else. And when that happens, the zoning doesn't change. And so if you've got agriculture and they decide they want to raise a whole bunch of chickens, hogs, whatever, your neighbors might object to that. Staff, do you have a comment on why we used AU rather than AUL?
Mr. Chair, if I may, what we can do is I can have Paul meet with the applicant in the back and explain the difference between AU and AUL, and we can bring them back once they get a better understanding of the difference. So the difference between AU and AUL, as Mr. Barger had explained, is that AUL does not allow for the commercial aspects of the AU properties. Just so you understand, is that AU is already pretty predominant zoning district out there. That's why it wasn't suggested for AU. But if the applicant feels better to talk to staff about it before they continue this, I would offer that up as an option.
Mr. Chair, if I can say something, I don't really have a problem with the AU zoning. I don't necessarily think AU light is necessary here. There's times and places for it, but I don't know if this is it.
There's a bunch of it out there.
Yeah.
If you look at the location of our property, we have Plucky Bomb Road on one side. We have a semi-truck repair shop to our south. We have the rest of our property that's a veterinarian clinic and a therapy horse riding facility to our east. And to our west is a heavy equipment parking area that used to be a radio station. So our neighbors aren't going to care if we don't want chickens, but I think we need all of our property zoned the same out there for our piece. Would be
You're
the
like in
only-
a combat zone.
Pardon me?
You're like in a combat zone.
More or less.
Well, only once gunshots on Plucky Bomb Road.
You're already using the property for doing, I'm over here,
Yeah.
for doing boarding of horses, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the boarding of horses wouldn't be allowed in the AU light, so they're wanting the
Oh.
same zoning classification as the AU that they already have on their other properties.
Then we definitely should give them AU.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We got a motion by Brian, a second by Debbie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed unanimously.
Thank you. Thank
All
you very
right.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, item G7, which is an LPA item.
Yes, the next two items are going to be companion items. They're going to be read together, but they will need to have individual approvals. G7 Island Cremations, Inc. requests small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use designation from Res 6 to CC. The application is 23 SS 00014. Tax account number is 2427231, located in District 2. And G8 Island Cremations Incorporated request change the zoning classification from RU-1-11 to BU-1. Application number is 23Z 00054, located at tax account number 2427231 in District 2.
Okay, sir, if you could state your name and address for the record.
My name is Paul Mazzoni, Island Cremations Funeral Home, 405 South Courtney Parkway. That's the funeral home address. 415 South Courtney Parkway, which is just south of that address, is what we're discussing, the property. And 1995 South Courtney is where I live.
Okay, and a little bit about what you're wanting to do here with a small-scale comprehensive
Well,
plan.
a few months ago, we had a hearing that, I'm trying to get this property for a while. Right now, it's zoned as residential. I do want to change it to commercial to put a parking lot just south of us. It's going to give me approximately maybe 14 to 16 spaces. It's going to help the funeral home a lot to give me more parking spaces, which gives me more chairs inside the funeral home. The majority of our business is cremation. We do 1,400 a year. There's not a funeral home in the state of Florida that does that. Okay, we're pulling all over the county. we are known for doing cremations at a low rate, which helps out a lot of families. My son's a funeral director. My other son operates the crematory. The crematory is located in Rockledge, and that's in city limits. So we do our own cremations. Cremations do not take place at 405 South Courtney. They take place in Rockledge. So we're trying to put a parking lot there to be able to put some extra chairs in our chapel, because we can only put so many chairs per parking space as the county reads, which is only allowing me to put in 20 chairs in my chapel, 25 maybe, okay, for the parking I got there now. And I need more chairs than that, because I also have pre-arrangements that have been written. I've been in business there since 2010, and we have over $1 million in the drawer on pre-arrangements. Families already pre-arranged to have their memorial service there. I think this would resolve the issue. There really wasn't much of an issue. You had a letter that was written from Pastor Fromm. He's well known in Merritt Island. He said basically there's never been a parking issue on that street. We don't do that many services. What it's going to do is going to clean up that lot. That lot has been overgrown. There's a pool in there right now. The pool's got to come out. There's a foundation there, and actually the pool is starting to sink, which is basically a hole developing which someone could fall and get hurt in. I've been trying to get a demolition permit. We've been getting held up on that. I want to start cleaning the lot out, whether it's, granted or not. I like to clean the lot out only because of the safety if somebody walks on that lot. Right now, it is getting some homeless people. One lady, I think she wrote a letter saying it's attracting homeless people, and they're also getting on that lot as well. And I chase them off every once in a while. But it is south of the business. It's directly right next door, basically. There's I think it's Mark Avenue separates us there, side street.
Yes. All right. Hearing that, is there anyone want to speak for or against this item in the audience? Seeing that, I bring it back to the board. We have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, I do.
Mr. John.
What type of vehicles are you going to park in that lot?
Well, there'll be vehicles from the families that come in, or people that comes in to go to a service there, or, I could have even some of the people, my employees will park there as well. It's just extra parking is what it is.
Okay, what about hearses or limousines?
No, hearses are really starting to become a thing of the past because of the cremation
That made me feel
rates.
old.
Yeah, I don't even own a hearse. It's not worth me having because it'll just sit. We do have, there's called conversion vans right now that have the hearse look to them, and they make removals, and they also do services as well. It's going away real quick. The old traditional funerals right now is cremation rate in the state of Florida is probably about 92%. It's high.
It is high. Saves real estate. You've owned this property since May or June, I believe?
I just recently bought it,
Yeah.
and it's crazy how I got it. I've been trying to get this property for, like I said, when I first went in there, I saw the real estate agent was putting a sign on it, so I ran over real quick and I tried to buy it then, and she said it's already sold. I said, well, why are you putting a sign on it? She was, well, they had to do that to let people know that it's been listed. And so somebody knew it was up for sale. Well, the guy that bought it, he held on, would never return the call. It just so happened, like a month before I was coming in from the hearing, the lady just moved in there. She started to complain about my parking. And it was one person. Everybody else on the street doesn't have a problem with it. But anyways, if one person says something, it's a word, it's an ear to the county, and they have to react to it. So basically what happened was, it was like a month before my hearing, the lady that owned the lot and her husband, the lady was under her name in a trust, she passed away. So he comes in to see me, I take care of her funeral arrangements, and he says, you still want to buy that lot? I said, yeah, I do. And that's how I got it. So it worked out. I mean, it was just a faith that, it just worked out perfectly because we need the lot, we need the parking, and I need to have the chairs in the chapel. So to accommodate those chairs in the chapel, I have to have the parking. Now, if you knew what Island Cremations looked at before I bought that place, it's a total turnaround. I don't know if anybody's ever been in there or have family or had to go there. It used to be an old Christian bookstore. It needed a wrecking ball. I turned that whole thing around the outside. I mean, I had trees brought in. and they were like 30-foot, 40-foot trees. I fixed the place up. I'm gonna do the same next door. I plan on making that place look like Disney World.
Before you do that, could you cut the grass?
See that?
It's about 3 feet high.
Do you see that?
I saw it.
Well, I was maintaining it, but the county wasn't working with me either. I keep asking for permits, they keep telling me to go get this, I need a survey, and I understand that. I need it engineered. I'm almost at the point paying my engineer, the only that's making money is the man back there in the mauve-colored shirt. And between the county, between paying him, I'm close to $30,000 out of my pocket, and nothing's been done yet. I'm just trying to get this thing going.
The previous owner did maintain that lot, though, and even did some partial repairs on that fence along Mark Road.
Did you see what it was laying down?
I've walked that site. I know.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, no, it's, but it wasn't overgrown like it is now. And so I'd appreciate it because I live in the neighborhood.
Well, I appreciate that. So you know where I'm coming from.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
live in a neighborhood, you know what's going on over there.
Yeah.
So, and to answer your question, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Henry, a second by Brian. All those in favor say aye, and this is for item G7.
Aye.
Any opposed? G7 passed unanimously. Now we need a motion for G8.
Henry.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
A motion by Henry, a second by Brian for item G8. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passed unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, sir. Item G9.
Yes, yes, items G9 and G10 are companion items. I'll be reading them together, but they will need a vote for each item. Item G9, Malcolm R. Kirschenbaum requests small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use designation from NC to CC to all CC. Application is 23 SS 00015, located at tax account number 2501390 in District 2. And G10 is Malcolm R. Kirschenbaum requests change of zoning classification from BU1-A with an existing BDP to BU-2 with removal of an existing BDP and adding a new BDP. Application 23Z 00053, also located at tax account 2501390 in District 2.
Okay, sir, if you could state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Cole Oliver, 516 Delanoy Ave, Cocoa Village is the work address. If you need the personal, I can give you that as well.
No, we're good with that. And a little bit about what you're wanting to do, Mr. Oliver.
Sure. This is the parcel just south of the 7-Eleven on Cone Road and Courtney, and it's been zoned BU1 with a mixed future land use of neighborhood commercial and community commercial. What we're proposing is a rezoning to a BU2, but with a binding development in place for the sole use of being able to use it for the interior boat and RV storage. And the reason that it needs to be the BU2 is there's a quirk in the code that you can't have electricity to the individual units unless you're in a BU2 zoning. And people that are storing their boats and the RVs want to be able to plug their equipment into the trickle chargers and keep the batteries charged in those vehicles. And the reason we want to do the binding development for that one use is so as to not, inflame public opinion of all the other things that are allowed in BU2, and we have no intention of doing that. So we wanted to give this body and the county commission the comfort that we wouldn't be legally able to do that at a later date if the property changes hands. I understand that there's been one letter from the residential neighborhood to the south of us about the use change, and that was why, if you look at the plan that we had presented, we had proposed putting a landscape buffer along that side, but I received a confusing comment from staff that to take that out of the BDP, which we're happy either way. Obviously, it's cheaper for us to take it out, but, we're also sensitive to the neighborhood's concerns behind it, and we wanted to be able to provide that option to this board if you guys would recommend it to the county commission. With that, I'm here if you guys have any questions on the project.
Well, 1 second, Mr. Oliver. Anyone in the audience want to speak for or against this item? Okay, sir, and you state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Michael McGraw. My address is 60 North Tropical Way, and I am on the southwest portion of this property. The letter that's being referenced earlier by the gentleman is the neighbor right next to me, which would be dead center of this lot proposition. I've been there for 21 years. Everyone else there has been way over 21 years. It, to me, is an issue of quality of life. I plan on living there the rest of mine. Hopefully I got 30, Lord willing. If not, I want to make sure that what they're proposing, and after listening to the gentleman here, it seems to kind of go along with what I'm wanting, and that is that we don't run into a situation of bait and switch, where we get a BU2, I'm not good with all these acronyms, so whatever that is, BU2, I want to make sure that he's not proposing a indoor storage facility, and then down the road, all of a sudden, well, our leasee backed out. Now we're going to put a body shop with pneumatic tools running all day long. Semi-retired right now. The quality of life in my backyard has been severely reduced because they cleared the entire property line of all vegetation. So now I have a beautiful view of the back of a strip mall with a children's nursery school and a 7-Eleven. I can live with that. I understand that we have to progress, and the gentleman, whoever he represents, has the right to improve his property. He has the right to sell his property, but I don't think he has the right to inflict financial hardship on the neighborhood or really quality of life issues. We have been dealing for the last 15 years with a quality of life issue posed on us by a flight school that came in and decided they were going to turn it into Little LaGuardia. And they have touch-and-go aircraft every 30 seconds. And if you think I'm exaggerating, I'll record it for you. They take off, full engine up as they're taking off. It's become, my parents came to visit the other day, holidays, religious holidays, government holidays, you name it. They have no regard. And I want to make sure that the gentleman who's looking to improve this property does, in fact, improve the property and not just make it what he wants. Okay? Some of the concerns that I have, and I don't know if this should be addressed with the actual property developers or with the council, but I'm going to throw these out there and you tell me if it's appropriate or not. Some of the things I already discussed, that we would want to have some kind of binding development agreement, that if this is what they say they're going to do, that's what they're going to do. And if they don't, they don't. All right?
Right.
The next one is the fence along the side and the back. The young lady over here was kind enough to greet me before I came to this meeting to find out how this works. I'm 60 years old and I've never had to do this. I'm learning. And I'm learning that there's a definite process and that there'll be a meeting on the 7th where others will be able to speak. Unfortunately, these others are not able to be here.
Well, we're just an advisory board.
I understand
The county
that.
commissioners are going to make the final say here.
Okay. The major concern that I have, and the one that I will address with the gentleman if willing to discuss, Mr. Kirschenbaum, whoever, I'm seeing a trend with storage units turning into businesses. I'm seeing storage units turning into repair shops where the guy gets his classic car and he decides he's going to replace the heads on it in this, so he brings his 30-gallon air compressor in and decides he's going to, do his repairs there. Well, my home is 100 feet away, and I get to listen to it all Saturday and Sunday while he's doing his improvements on his RV or his boat or whatever it is. So I'm not objecting to it straight out. I know the world could be worse. I could have an auto repair shop going in there. I understand that.
Right.
But I just do want to make sure that everybody understands that there is concern by all the people that back up to that. And I would
Okay.
hope that the council would, respect that. Other concerns I'll discuss if you want me to discuss them with them, but.
Well, you got 17 seconds. We're
All right.
ready for whatever
Last ones
you
are,
got.
what kind of construction is this going to be? Is it going to be a metal prefab building with an R panel?
That'll be all handled whenever
Okay.
they go to site
There you go.
plan.
Next question is the fencing. That's got to be, there's
Site plan.
obvious- Yep, and there I go.
All right, sir.
My wife would agree, I'm long-winded.
No, that's no problem. But all those questions you're talking about, that'll all be handled whenever they go through engineering, whenever they go through site plan, and the county will be taking care of all that.
Okay?
So, yeah, we don't even know what type of fence, building, or anything. We're just doing planning and zoning.
Okay, I'm just wanting to make sure that the plan doesn't get changed.
All right, sir.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
All right, appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, can I just try to explain the process a little bit for the folks out in the audience?
Yes, please.
So a BDP is a legal document that's recorded over the clerk of the court. So if the applicant or voluntarily decides to or agrees to a BDP, it gets ratified by the Board of County Commissioners and gets recorded. Any of those stipulations or changes to those stipulations would need to go back for board approval with that. So if the BDP is approved with certain use restrictions, in order for that to change, it would have to go through the same process as we are here today and go and get board approval to make any changes to that. The other comment that I wanted to address is that our code requires buffering to any residential zoning classification, meaning the residential property to the south would require a 6-foot masonry wall, as well as the AU property to the west.
Well, that should have answered a lot of your questions right there, sir. All right. So, anyone, one second, Mr. Cole. Anyone else want to speak for or against this item? That's a good sign. Now it's yours.
Just real quick tag on to that one. One of the items that was in the binding development plan, which staff had asked to take out, and I didn't really understand what they were talking about, but now I think they do, is the way the building is designed. It's a masonry construction all the way around, so it's 100% contained, but obviously those building walls are not on the property lines. So what we were doing was going to do a masonry wall all the way around, and then on the landscape buffering along the side of the residential property with a vinyl fence behind it to provide that double opacity and avoid the need to have two masonry walls, one being on the property line and then another being, the back side of the building, our security wall that's within that property.
That's all going to be determined, though, in engineering, correct?
Well, he'll clean that up.
Yeah.
So just was putting
Right.
that out there and to.
But I mean, it sounds pretty cut and dry to me.
Mr. Oliver, when did we, when was that, the old binding development plan on there? How many years ago was that?
I'm not sure this piece ever had a binding development plan. I believe the parcel to the north that is, the separate parcel of 7-Eleven has a binding development plan, which would allow, if anyone ever chose to do it, but it's under a long-term lease, to add additional retail just to the side of the 7-Eleven where the extra parking's already been built. But that's way before my time, Mr. Minbin.
Henry, it's the one that's attached to our package on item 10 was from 1990. Okay.
I remember that.
Been here too long.
Being sarcastic.
Yeah, of course.
I don't remember what I did yesterday.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
The, in our packet, I am talking about 10, not 9, by the way, because 9 is for the
Well,
OPA.
we need
You
to
want to finish?
get situated on 9
Okay,
first.
because the issue was brought up about the BDP, and there is a proposed BDP attached to our packet, and I wanted to address that before we do the LPA, if you don't mind.
Is that fine?
We should probably approve the first one.
It's whatever the board decides to do. There's two motions that need to happen, one for the land use change and then one for the zoning application.
One for 9 and one for 10.
Correct, and the BDP is
10.
with the zoning action.
change, right.
Okay, yes, Mr. John.
Okay, so you're allowing me to do that?
Yeah, we're
that's
going to
very
discuss 10.
Thank you very much. In this proposed BDP, you speak about, it's written in here that you will put that vegetation buffer, but no vinyl fencing. It stipulates that it's not allowed along the south property line, which is where those residential homes are.
So the intent on that was it's a vinyl chain link fence as what was proposed on the other boundaries. We would be putting a solid fence along that south wall,
Solid
but
fence.
not masonry.
Okay, what, wood?
Wood or whatever the plastic,
okay,
plastic
that
looking
that
wood is that
vinyl.
lasts
PVC,
longer. Yeah, the
vinyl.
PVC
okay.
fencing.
The ones that turn green?
Well,
Okay.
you can start at green.
The existing BDP stipulated that they couldn't put any refueling in that area or a convenience store. Okay, that is not being reflected in the new one. I hate BDPs.
Limiting it to RV storage.
It's just limiting it to RV storage, right. So it says indoor. Is everything going to be indoor? So there'll be no outdoor storage?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Does that help you?
Sounds expensive.
I just wanted
Yeah,
to
it does
I
sound
just wanted to compliment the gentleman on bringing this BDP
Yeah.
so we could see it in writing and not have to say, well, yes, I'll create it in the future. Thank you for doing that.
Since you're doing total indoor storage, how high is this going to be as a building?
So the engineering hasn't been completed, and it'll probably come down to the slopes of the roofs, but it'll be designed to accommodate, the RVs. And I'm not an RVer, so I don't know what those heights work out to
But
be.
what about the boat storage? I mean, are you going to lift them up and put them in racks?
No, sir. No, it'll
just
be
be on-
one-story product. There won't be
It'll be a
multiple
one-story
levels.
product.
And I believe it's 35 foot's the limit there, but we don't anticipate being anywhere near that.
Okay. See if there's anything else.
Why don't we deal with the fencing under the binding development plan to eliminate 2 fences in there?
My suggestion to you all is let the code stand on its own and let the requirements speak for itself during the site plan process, because there is code requirements as far as buffering. What I would tell you is that if you have more concerns than what the current code allows for, then certainly an additional buffering that you would suggest could be incorporated into that BDP. But I will tell you that our code already addresses buffering requirements.
Which is fine, but if the BDP counters that somehow,
Well, the BDP is not a mechanism to circumvent the code.
no, I know, but
No, but it provides
some
some
attorney could do
clarity.
that.
Mr. Oliver, what's going to be conducive to that site
I'm not sure I understand.
of the fences? You got 2 potential issues there.
We just don't want to put a double masonry wall
that's what
fence
I'm-
in because of the expense. It doesn't seem to make much sense.
Not if
You
your
know, and plus it'd
building's
be harder to
masonry.
maintain and,
Yeah. Your building's already mason.
Yeah, but it's not on the property line.
Yeah, but then you said a vinyl or a PVC fence on the property line.
Mr. Chair, if I may, staff is not looking to have a double fence with that. We'll work with the applicant to have an appropriate buffering that meets the intent of the code.
that's, works for
My
me.
concern is for the neighbors to the south.
Sure, we're concerned about that as well.
That number one, there is some sort of barrier to prevent people from the storage facility from going into their neighborhood, for one thing. Also, any unsightly material or something that will be exposed to those neighbors. And that was my concern.
Yeah, the masonry wall that is the interior of the storage, which would only be accessed from the north, would not allow anyone out of it, barring, with the exception of being whatever the fire marshal says, if they needed a crash door or something, then
Exit door.
obviously, that would be there, but it wouldn't be for your everyday in and out. The only thing that we would anticipate being along that outside edge is, one, the landscape buffer, which we've already addressed or discussed. R2 would be whatever swell and drainage requirements that would go into that. So
Are you going to have security on the property?
it's not anticipated to have security, but it will be a gated entrance with the punch key code, so we'll know who comes and goes at any time. And there will be
How about-
security cameras throughout the property.
How about lighting?
Interior lighting, which keeps it internal, so that there no light spills over into neighboring properties. And then whatever the county's lighting code is for the back, we'll be sure to meet that.
Okay.
That's all
Thank you.
going to be handled with code, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I know, any more discussion on G10? Okay, I'm going to take it back to G9, and we need a motion.
Move for approval.
This is item G9. We got a motion by Debbie, a second by Ben. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? G9 passed unanimously. Item G10.
I make a motion to approve.
Second?
Item G. I thought we
forgot
already
one.
had discussion.
No, we're going to have another one. Just one quick question. How are you getting access to your site?
So we have we own the property to the north as well, so we'll have cross-access easements across that to make sure that they're coming through the existing driveways and to avoid creating another cut onto Courtney.
But it will be coming off of Courtney, not through the 7-Eleven?
Functionally, that's probably where the RVs would be coming through, just simply because they wouldn't want to be coming off of Cone and going underneath the canopy at 7-Eleven, but we can't control their behavior. Those canopies are sized to allow that height of a vehicle under FDOT regulations to go through there, so there wouldn't be a concern of, hitting anything there. But
So you're anticipating coming off of Courtney?
I think, I'm not a traffic engineer, but that'd be my anticipation that the primary access
Because you
would
have
be
that
coming
little
off.
sliver of land there that is included in this.
Yeah, and that's where we have some, preliminarily some retention ponds drained are showing there. And if we tried to put a second driveway in there, we think it would just exacerbate any traffic problems by having the 7-Eleven driveway and then immediately after it another driveway and then immediately after that another driveway which goes into the existing shopping center. So to avoid that vehicular conflict, we were going to utilize the existing access road.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we had a motion by Henry, and I'm sorry, Ben, did you second? A second by Ben on item G10. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chair, can I just for clarification, your motion did not include the BDP?
No.
I think the motion was the
Motion
item
better
in
include
general,
the
which
BDP.
includes.
For
the-
G10 was the rezoning the BU2 with a BDP.
I believe it does, but okay.
Yes.
The item in
As
general.
submitted, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To include.
Those both passed unanimously. Good luck at the
And
county commission.
Thank you for becoming so organized and prepared.
Sorry I wasn't very organized, but thank you for the time.
Believe it or not, you really were.
Take care.
All right. Okay, item G11, the LPA item.
Yes, items G11 and J12 are companion items. They'll need to be read in as one, but have separate votes for them. G11, Colleen Mary Gullub, Revocable Trust, requests small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use designation from NC to CC. Application is 23SS000012. Tax account number is 2627864, located in District 4. And G12 is Colin Mary Gullub, Revocable Trust, requests major amendment to a PUD. Application is 23Z00051, located at the same tax account number 2627864 in District 4.
Mr. Chair, before I turn it over, I just wanted to give you a brief history of this request, because this is a little bit out of the norm for everyone. So before you is a small-scale land use changed from to CC, and a zoning request to BU1, which would allow for a car wash. The original PUD was approved as a master plan, which is for the whole development. It didn't have the detail that we would typically see if a PUD would come in today, where it's site-specific and have, engineer drawings. This was a master plan of the overall development, how many acres it was years ago. So these two requests would allow for a car wash use that was not contemplated when the zoning was, or the PUD zoning was approved. The original PUD zoning did not include a car wash use that would be allowed under the CC land use and the BU1 zoning here today.
Any questions for staff on that? Okay, Ms. Kim, you know the drill.
I do. Thank you, Chairman. Members of the Planning and Zoning Board, Kim Rosenka with Lacey Lyons Rosenka in the Rockledge office. Here on behalf of the Mary Golub Revocable Trust and the contract purchaser, which is Daniel Renfro. The purpose is to allow a car wash with one tunnel on this 1.72 acres. This is a little unusual. I talked with Mr. Ball many times about this, and this was the way he wanted us to go, so that's why we're here. Staff did an excellent job with the staff reports. I don't have too much to add, but I do want to do a little bit of the history because there's more to it than that. This Suntree, well, first, I provided you with the old plat, and it's a 1980, it's actually a 2005 plat. And Lot 1 is the lot at issue. This has access off of Wickham Way, and that there is also a driveway off St. Andrews Boulevard. It says driveway access. I'm not exactly sure if they have driveway access there or not. And the second page is just a Google map I printed today. The pink is the site. And just to give you a little bit more about this area, as you move further north on Wickham Road, you have a Marine Trust Bank that has drive-through, you have a Dunkin' Donuts, you have a Marathon gas station, a 7-Eleven gas station. So this is generally a commercial corridor. You do have residential to the west, but across from this site is a big retention pond. So it's not going to be impacting, or should not be impacting anyone in the residential area. So I just wanted to give you that little bit of background. This is requesting neighborhood commercial to community commercial in a commercial corridor of 1.71 acres. And because of the drive-through nature, we have to have CC. And that was in your staff report as well. The second is amending the 1984 PUD ordinance to allow B1 uses, essentially creating development standards in the PUD ordinance that were not there before. Again, this is on North Wickham Road and St. Andrews Boulevard. Interestingly, St. Andrews Boulevard is 4-lane there with a median. It's odd. I don't know if it was intended to go through. This is now the UBS building, formerly known as Mercedes building. This actually started with the PDP for Suntree, which started in 1976, a very long time ago. At that time, it was 1,977 acres. It was amended in 1984 to 2,509 acres with commercial components. This is part of the Suntree Commercial Center. There was a declaration of covenants that go over this land, and that declaration of covenants from 1986 actually has in it that all general retail commercial zone BU1 shall be allowed, and it includes automobile washing. This is recorded in the public records at 2718, page 2196, and I'll submit it for the record. But I only have one. I didn't want to give you more paper than that. But that was just to show you that this is a compatible use. Automobile washing was anticipated in this area of the Suntree Commercial Park. The staff report goes through everything. Couple things I did want to address. As to traffic, again, that will be a site plan issue, but we did have LTG, Ryan Hartman, look at it. And the peak hour PM is all that the ITE trip generation manual gives you, and it's 78 peak hours, 78 trips per peak hour PM. Currently, there are 1,427 PM peak trips available at this portion of Wickham Road, North Wickham Road. This is an infill project, I agree. And the admin policies state no material violation of relevant policies have been identified. So with that, based upon the commercial nature of the area and the proposed use is a car wash that needs a drive-through, we would ask that you approve the NC2CC request. As to the PUD substantial change, again, this is a 1984 old ordinance that we're just trying to clean up to allow some development standards. The map that's in your package is actually a 1993 PUD land use update, so it's a little different than what was approved in 1984. And as you well know, Wickham Road has changed substantially over the 80s, 90s, 2000s. The staff report discusses future land use policy number 3 regarding hours, lighting, and traffic, and it does state this will be addressed at the site plan stage, and again states that there will be no material violations. And with that, I would request approval of the amendment to the PUD to allow BU1 standards to apply. Now I'm here for questions.
One second, Ms. Kim. Does anyone in the audience want to speak for or against this item? Is there anyone else? Ms. Kim, can we take her real quick? Ma'am, if you could get as close as you can to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name is Rosemary Bratch. I live at 1785 Old Glory Boulevard, but I'm here on behalf of my daughter who lives on Tangle Run. So Tangle Run runs directly adjacent to the property, I believe, in question. It does face Wickham Road and St. Andrews, but on the other side of it is Tangle Run. Tangle Run has townhouses in that development. It does not cut through to Wickham Road because of the traffic. There is also on that other side of the property, there is townhouses. So there is a lot of residential. So I'm not sure, things change over time. And there is across the street a lot of businesses, but there's not on the side of Wickham that you're talking. There's business above St. Andrews, but when you get to St. Andrews, that all becomes residential until you get a little further down Wickham Road. There are several other pieces of property. This piece of property was up for sale recently and didn't sell, so I believe this is why they're trying to change it. But I don't believe a drive-through in that capacity is conducive to the residential neighborhood that it was set up to be.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak for or against this item? All right, seeing that, Ms. Kim, you have the podium again.
Yes, sir. Again, this is the commercial center of Century. This was intended to have BU1 uses, including an automobile washing by the Declaration of Covenants that attach to this property. My client, Daniel Renfro, is the contract purchaser. They're under contract. We're just waiting to see how this goes through before he does close. So, but this is on the east side. It's not the west side. There are condos over there, and we did do a mailing to the owners within 500 feet. We sent out 26 letters. And so, but Tangle Run is on the west side of Wickham Road, and Wickham Road is, I don't know, at least 100 feet wide. And again, we have to meet performance standards. We can't impact them, traffic, noise, anything like that, and that's all site plan issues.
Right.
So, with that, I'd ask for approval.
We need to remember we're zoning here.
Any questions?
Kim, that goes back to the 70s. Didn't you say 76 or something?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, this was planned for, if you look at the,
Is that Joe Marqueso?
yeah,
Okay.
or at least his name's in the documents.
So
So you do remember what you did yesterday?
I remember.
Hold on, well, ma'am, you've had your chance at us, so I'm sorry. We got to get going here. We're just all volunteers trying to get through. Well, maybe you could meet with her whenever we get done outside. Yeah.
Yeah, this thing is, but her daughter probably has the property on the west side. Her daughter lives in here. Yeah, it's the west side.
I got control of this.
Commercial in nature.
Miss Kim, I'm sorry to interrupt.
I was trying to
I know, but she can meet you outside after
I
this.
apologize.
Henry's got a dinner date tonight.
Oh, poor Henry.
And I believe Mr.
And we get
Yes.
paid big money to do this.
Yes,
so-
sir. And just,
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I have a
Mr. John.
question. I have two questions. You said it's a tunnel?
yes,
Okay, so it's self-service, or is it some hand washing and all that?
it's self-service, it's not
It's
hand washing.
just drive in, pay your money and go?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I noticed there's a lot of trees. Are they going to clear cut that whole lot there?
They haven't gotten that far, sir.
Okay.
I mean, they're going to do whatever the tree ordinance requires or
All right.
allows. It's a pretty high site. I imagine they'll save as many as they can. It is a high site.
The reason I ask is that I met a woman about a year ago, and she told me there was cougars in the area and wildlife and stuff, and I'm wondering, we start cutting all those trees down, we're going to lose wildlife.
I guarantee you the county's only gonna let them do whatever they need to do to get the car wash in.
That might, I'm just wondering about that. Okay. Thanks. Oh, why is this a major amendment, by the way?
Because it's intensification of uses.
So that's considered a major amendment. Okay, I was curious. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
ready to entertain a motion?
I'm ready.
All right, I move or recommend approval of item G11 to the county commission.
Okay.
Second.
We got a motion by Ben on item G11, a second by Debbie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're going to need a motion for G12.
Or recommendation of approval to item G12.
Second.
We got a motion by Ben on item G12, a second by Debbie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passed unanimously. Okay. All right. Item G13, which is a LPA item also.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to read G13 and G14 into the record simultaneously as their companion applications. However, I'll need to have separate motions for each. So G13 is Chelsea Lee James requests a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment 23S.13 to change the future land use designation from agricultural to Res 1. Application number is 23SS0013. Tax account number is 2002343. Located in District 1. Item G14 is Chelsea Lee James requests a change the zoning classification from GU to RRMH-1. Application number is 23Z00052. Tax account number is 2002343. Located in District 1.
Okay, ma'am, and are you the applicant?
Yes, sir. I'm Chelsea James.
Yeah, if you could pull that microphone down and state your name and address for the record, please.
I just recently changed my name back to my maiden name, so it's Chelsea King. The property is 4585 D. Johnson Avenue in Mims, Florida. Obviously, I'm not staying there. Currently, there's no buildings out there, so I'm at 5205 Citrus Boulevard in Cocoa, Florida.
Okay, and a little bit about what you're wanting to do.
Currently, it's at general use, and the future land use is agricultural, and it's 1.18 acres. So it does not conform to the 5-acre rule, so I cannot currently even build anything on it. So I'm trying to get it rezoned so I can build one residency on it for me and my son. The plan is to do a small home, possibly even a tiny home. That way I'm preserving as much of the property as possible, since it is out in the Mims area, the Indian River. Most of it is, it's not very city, it's more rural, so.
We have a MIMS expert on this board.
Yeah.
He's sitting right over there. That's Mr. Ron. Okay, and so let me do this, ma'am, real quick. Anyone in the audience want to speak for or against this item? All right, Mr. Ron, do you have any questions for her for item G14?
No, I really don't. I mean, you mentioned tiny home?
Yes, possible if I'm able to get proper, I guess, building codes and stuff that follow.
The zoning that you're asking for will allow you to do that, so.
Mhm.
No, I don't have any other questions.
Any other questions by the board? You don't have a question?
All right.
Okay, good. All right. No, I'm just messing. Go ahead, John.
No, it said that you're going to put a mobile home on here. Are you going to put a mobile home? Or are you going to put a tiny home? I'm just curious.
Well, it would be.
And why? Why wouldn't, you got an acre of land?
It would be just a mobile home in the process of trying to build an actual home. That way I can have something that's a lot more secure. For long term, we get lots of, bad weather hurricanes, and I want to make sure that, it's.
It doesn't blow away.
Yeah.
Don't blame you. Now, I was just curious why it was you'd stipulated in this a mobile home rather than a home with a foundation. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
I'll make a motion to approve both G13 and 14.
We would just have to go with G13 to start with.
Second?
On item G13, we have a motion by Brian, a second by Ron. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed unanimously. Item G14, we have a motion by Brian,
Second?
a second by Ron. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passed unanimously. Okay, good luck, ma'am. Okay, another LPA item, G16.
We have G15.
15.
All right, G15 is Tracy C. and Teresa B. Higginbottom. Request to change the zoning classification from GU to AU 23Z00024. Tax account numbers 2312731, 2319995, and 231996, located in District 1.
Okay, sir, and are you the applicant?
I am.
Okay, if you could state your name and address for the record.
All right, it's Tracy Higginbotham, 6545 Birch Drive, Port St. John.
And a little bit about what you're wanting to do, Mr. Higginbotham.
Well, we're wanting to get our 3 parcels changed from GU to AU, so we'd be in the same as our other pieces of property that's adjacent to it. That's already AU, and we'd like to get it all AU.
Now, you're referencing the piece in front and the piece in the rear?
There's 3 pieces back there, south,
Okay.
south of those.
Correct. All right. Hold on one second. Does anyone in the audience want to speak for or against this item? Seeing that, I bring it back to the board. Do we have any questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
for the applicant, you're going to be raising honeybees?
I may.
Okay. Well, I hope you have some good luck with that.
Thank you.
We need those.
And I know if I put them on there, I did have some on there before that they requested us to remove them, so we removed them. And so if that arrangement comes back around, then I know that I got to put up a fence around them and proper signage and all that good stuff, so. Okay?
Are you aware, there were some staff comments that the property does not have access to county-owned or maintained roads that would be required for you to get a building permit. You're aware of that?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay. And that you might need to make substantial improvements to allow development of the property.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure you were aware of that.
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I don't have any other concerns, and I'd recommend approval.
I'll second that.
All right, we're going to hold on one second. John has a question.
Yeah, I'm just curious, what's that little V area cut out of that site?
y'all's.
Say again?
It's, it's county right away. That little V.
Yeah, the little V in there. What is that?
It's part of the canal right away.
Okay. So the water drains into that part of the site, or is it just access?
It's just sitting there. I mean, it's a triangle that
They carved it out.
back
of
in
your property.
1986, there was agreement that they made access for some reason, or
It just struck me
I'm
strange.
hoping that once we get to possibly getting a road or something, then my property actually, if it's on the site plan that I have, goes right through it. Okay? So I'm hoping that if that develops, then I will take, instead of putting a road all the way down the end, it'll go to the left on my property, kind of like along the ditch, but it'll be on our property. It's given easement to the property that's on the east side of us.
I think an updated survey would help you on that.
I actually have an updated survey. Actually, it's one on BCPOA, AO, and I actually have a survey of that, but it still reflects that triangle, believe it or not.
I believe it. All right, thanks.
All right, we had a motion by Ron, a second by Brian. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed unanimously.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, item G16.
Items G16 and G17 are companion applications, so I will read them in together, but they'll need a separate recommendation on each. IR Tiki LLC requests a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use designation from NC and CC to all CC, application number 23 SS00008, located in tax count number 2605971 in District 2. G17 is IR Tiki LLC, requests to change in zoning classification from RU210 and BU2 to all BU2, application number 23Z00043, located in tax count number 2605971 in District 2.
Okay, and is the applicant here?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Kelly Hyvonen with Land Development Strategies. Just in case we need any discussion on where the zoning lines and the future land use lines are, because this one's a little bit complicated in terms of how everything got to where it was today. But today we're here to request a change of future land use of this entire property from NC and CC to all CC, and then a zoning from BU2 and RU210 to all BU2. This is to match the rest of the property, so the entire property has consistent zoning and future land use, and that's also per staff's desire to have the same zoning on the entire development site moving forward. These requests are consistent with the property owner's desire to obtain permits for site improvements for the expansion of the Pineda Inn restaurant, which includes a deck with outdoor seats, a tiki hut, parking, stormwater, and vegetative buffering. We've been in extensive contact with county staff on how to bring the site into compliance, and these requests are the next items we have to do before we can obtain site plan approval and obtain building permits. Before doing those, we need, again, the request to change everything to CC and to have a BU2 zoning across the entire property. Myself and the owner are here to answer any of your questions.
All right, hold on one second, Ms. Kelly. Is anyone in the audience want to speak for or against this item? That's good news. So seeing that, I'm going to bring it back to the board. Do we have any questions for the applicant?
I think it's going to be a great improvement.
This should have been done back in your day.
That's true.
I agree 100% there.
Yeah. What was, ma'am, I have a question. What was all the code enforcement issues? They did some construction there they shouldn't have, and made additions and things like that?
There used to be 2 duplexes on that site, and the duplexes were demolished, and it kind of organically became more parking for the restaurant that needed it. There was improvements made to some decking and a tiki hut, and maybe a sign.
Without a permit?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep, so we're intending to fix all those, and before we can fix anything, we have to untangle this web, and so this is our next step towards doing that.
You're starting on the right foot.
right or the left. One of the
That's-
two.
As long as we're going forward.
Yes, we're moving forward.
That's
Yes,
it.
sir.
No, this is a good thing.
Move for approval.
I'll second.
On item G16, got a motion by Debbie, a second by Brian. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item G16 passed unanimously. Item G17,
I'll make the motion to approve set G17.
Second.
on item G17, a motion by Brian, a second by Debbie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? And item G17 passed unanimously.
All right, thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
You're headed in the right direction, Kelly.
Summit, are you Mike's son? Thought so.
Item G18,
Thank you.
LPA.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to read this into the record. I'll have Morris, our county attorney, is going to come up and explain what the changes are to this. So item G18 is the LPA hearing for amendments to Chapter 46, Environment Article 4, Noise, and Section 62, 2271 Noise of Brevard County Code of Ordinances. So Morris will explain what those changes are moving forward.
Hello, Board. Thank you very much. I almost left when I was coming in. Henry told Ms. Rosanka there were too many lawyers here already, so I'm glad you let me stay.
5 attorneys today.
All right. So this was initiated by the District 2 Commissioner, Commissioner Goodson, in response to some noise complaints where it was reported to him by both Sheriff's Office and Code Enforcement that because of the relative antiquity of our noise codes, there was some difficulty in enforcing the existing noise regulations. So the mission that we were given was to do something that would be more uniform and enforceable and that would meet constitutional requirements regarding enforcement so that when the sheriff does want to bring a case, that the state attorney will move that forward. Right now, our noise regulations are largely set forth or entirely set forth within 2 places. One is under Chapter 46, Environment, Article 4, Noise, and then the reason it's here today in front of the LPA is there's also a provision in our land development regulations in Chapter 62, Section 62, 2271, which is within the performance standards. Chapter 46 contains noise restrictions based on something called a loud and raucous standard, and if you can tell me what that is, then you're better than the courts, because that's part of the reasons we're here. It's considered to be very subjective. One person's loud and raucous is another person's Metallica concert that they love, right? So what we're moving to is something that a lot of jurisdictions are. The state of Florida has already done it. Away from loud and raucous to something called a plainly audible standard. And plainly audible is measured so that when you are a certain distance from a noise source or the property line of a noise emanating source, and you can clearly hear that noise, then it's in violation, period. You don't have any subjectivity whether a reasonable person would like it or not like it. If you can hear it at that distance, it's too loud. What we've used here are numbers that are in line with a number of jurisdictions, although frankly it's all over the place. There are some that are more restrictive because we're doing this for unincorporated county, which has become more urbanized in places, but still more rural than an urban city environment. We're using a more moderate standard. So the numbers I've put in here are 300 feet away during daytime hours, which is 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., 150 feet away during nighttime hours. If you ask how that's measured, do they take out a measuring wheel or anything like that? Not typically. Most of our noise complaints are in the form of recurring or repeat violations. Sheriff and/or our code enforcement can make reference to things like the property appraiser's map. Usually there's a complainant. You can go to their property. You know how far it is from the property line of the noise generating source. There will be times where some judgment or estimate may be made, and that's okay. The courts have upheld that with regard to things like in Chapter 316 Florida statutes, there's a 25-foot plainly audible standard that's applicable to motor vehicles, things like the speaker systems in those, and the courts have upheld that as constitutional, whereas they had thrown out their old standard, which was something akin to the loud and raucous standard. In Chapter 62 is where we currently have standards where we have maximum sound levels based on decibel readings. Those were adopted a long time ago. They're a little bit archaic in describing the equipment that's used. For example, ours calls for an equipment that's capable of doing a printout. Those meters are hard to get anymore. They're very expensive when you can get them, on the order of $3,000 to $5,000. That's why for the entire county, the sheriff's office only has one of them. In our code enforcement, we have a couple. This moves away from some of those to a more modern standard of equipment. It's still very reliable equipment that's required to be calibrated. Most significantly, right now, we only enforce things on a weighted decibel standard, which the shorthand for that is dBA. We are keeping everything the same with the dBA as far as the allowable sound levels, but we are adding the option to measure also with a C-weighted scale, dBC. That is much better at picking up vibratory noises, bass noises, things that rattle and shake. The A-weighted scale is better for your highs and things like that. We are also shortening, right now, and again, this goes in part to the age of the ordinance and what it was originally directed at, but currently, to violate the decibel regulations, you have to take the average noise level over 15 minutes. We literally have a case in Merritt Island where there's a neighbor who points some loud noise-making equipment at his neighbors and runs it for about 14 minutes and 50 seconds when the sheriff is out there, and then shuts it off. We're reducing that to 30 seconds. That's really what you need to average out the sounds to determine how loud it is with a decibel meter. They can do that reading that quickly. So those are the primary changes in it. We're maintaining the structure where there's some noises that are just outright prohibited no matter what. You don't have to measure them with anything. They don't have to be plainly audible. So for example, operating a motor vehicle without a muffler. That's always been the case. We also maintain some exemptions. So for residential lawn work during certain limited hours, I was going to say daytime hours, but it's not all the way up until 10 p.m. It's a slightly shorter window. Exemptions for rocket launches and police training and things of that nature. Again, all of those carry over from our existing ordinances for the most part. We've added a few exemptions that weren't contemplated back when our old restrictions were adopted, and also added a couple of prohibitions here or there, but for the most part, those are the same. The major changes, again, are going from loud and raucous to plainly audible, and adding the C-weighted decibel scale, the dBC measure, and moving from the 15-minute average to the 30-second average. And I'd be happy to try to answer any questions any of you may have.
Mr. Chairman, I got one. Morris, will we ever have a uniform policy that'll take into account cities? Just everybody is under the same framework here?
That would probably be nice in a lot of areas, but as you know, the cities have home rule, and they like to adopt their own regulations. I will tell you that I did an ordinance very much like this for West Melbourne a couple years ago. What I'm proposing for the county is very similar to West Melbourne's. It's a little more lenient as far as the distance of measurement for plainly audible, but other than that, it's right on. At the time, I had done a comparison of all the decibel levels allowed for neighboring jurisdictions down there, Melbourne, Palm Bay, but I also did some other municipalities within the county, Titusville. And this is largely in line with those. If anything, it errs a little bit on the side of being a little more lenient than some of the cities, but again, typically those are a more urban environment. People are closer together. But I didn't change the existing decibel levels on that A-weighted scale.
Okay. You got some unique situations here in that you'll have one city, 2 or 3 roads that are in the county, and then you'll have another city. Thank goodness we don't have too many of those, but yet that's a terrible task if indeed.
We have some of that. We even have situations where there's an unincorporated property on the barrier island and an incorporated property across the river, and have had complaints about that, and we've said, well, that violators within the city of Palm Bay. You got to talk to Palm Bay and see if it violates
Right.
their noise ordinance.
Right. John, that's ones I had.
That's a good
Curious.
question. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. So going from 15 minutes to 30 seconds is pretty drastic. What do you see on, average throughout these different municipalities, since sounds like you've helped them?
30 seconds.
Really?
Yeah, that's the average out there.
Okay.
And I don't know if the 15 minutes, the origin of that was because of the equipment back when that was adopted, because again, our noise restriction is over 20 years old. That might have been part of the consideration there. There is room, though, also built into it for officers to have some discretion, enforcement officers, and consider the source of the sound and other factors when they're determining how it should be measured. There's certain sounds that are associated with a legitimate business use, for example, that are going to be treated a little differently than others.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones.
I have a list. Morris, I'm really concerned about this. I don't like it at all. I think it's arbitrary.
Great.
You are eliminating decibel meters. You are stating in here that it is at the discretion of the code enforcement or the police to determine if it's noisy or not, which I think is questionable, okay?
That's actually, sir, the exact opposite of what we're doing here.
But that's not what it says.
Well, it actually doesn't, not only does it not eliminate decibel meters, it adds a decibel measurement in the weighted DBC scale.
But the C scale is used for large bangs, and I have it written down. I looked it up. I've done decibel deals before. I was doing things for scream therapy for a psychiatrist once. Where did I have that? Hang on a sec. That must be here. Accordingly, it's sudden, short-lived bangs and crashes. That's the definition of a C scale.
Well,
Okay.
that's part of what it can measure, but it's
Well,
also
no,
good at
that's what
vibratory.
That's what ANSI says.
ANSI also says it's good at vibratory and bass noise is the low end of the sound scale that the A is not good for. So things like music on a speaker with a lot of bass to it, sir.
Yes, but it does stipulate that it is only for short blasts, not for long, drawn-out concerts and things like that. But getting back to the arbitrariness of this, is code enforcement going to have hearing tests for their agents?
No, they're not going to have hearing tests. They
So
they
how
have
do
to be of
you-
ordinary hearing without an enhancement, without a hearing aid.
Okay.
But of generally ordinary hearing. But again, it's less, remember, we're moving from a standard where someone has to determine arbitrarily whether it's loud and raucous to them. We're moving to a plainly audible standard where really the only question is at a given distance, can you hear it or can you not hear it? So it's not whether I think it's noise or not, it's simply whether you can hear it.
Okay. By the way, sound that travels at night travels further. So you're changing to 150 feet would reduce that. And that's not, it should be the other way around. It should be extended because people will hear it easier. The other thing, you had stated that some of the things from the original exemptions would be carried forward. However, it doesn't state that in the document, and I'm referring to sonic booms from the space program. And also, there was a gentleman here that lives in the Cone Road area, and he was mentioning about the airport there, that they're doing touch and goes on the aircraft, which is very noisy. I live in the same area, and it's a prolonged, very loud noise. I don't like noise myself, even though I talk a lot. But I don't like grass blowers that the landscape people use. I think they're very noisy, and they go beyond the DBAs, okay? And they certainly wouldn't be qualified under the C mode. And that's an exemption in the old document, but in the new one, it's still an exemption. And, I would like to have quiet, but I don't believe, I understand the rationale behind this. We don't want loud parties. We don't want a lot of strong noise that shakes your house. We want to live quietly, and I understand that. But I don't believe this document does that. I really don't. I think there's too many loopholes in it that you could make it so that if somebody coughs real loud or their car alarm goes off, that they can be cited. And that is troublesome also. This 30-second duration from the previous one is just, I think it's too stringent. But yet, on the other hand, you're allowing certain things that are very loud and very disturbing. Is code enforcement going to get another budget to handle all the complaints under this?
I would encourage you to review it again and compare it to the existing ordinance, because there are actually exemptions for things like air travel and for space launches. I can't remember the provision for blowers in here, because I think there's a separate provision.
There's a thing on
specifically to
landscaping
that.
I had caught.
There is one for lawn equipment, as long as it's in reasonably good working condition, but I think there's a specific provision maybe related to blowers that I could find given some time here. But I assure you, it may not be, I will concede it may not be perfect. You may be able to come up with something better, but I would submit that it is light years ahead of what we have, and it would comport with the commissioner's direction, which again was to remove the subjectivity inherent in the loud and raucous standard that prevented the state attorney from bringing cases under that provision, and move to a plainly audible standard, which the state attorney will bring forward and the courts have enforced, and also to add the DVC scale and reduce the average waited time to better capture those bass thumping sounds from loud music. So it accomplishes, or should accomplish, those legislative goals of the county commission.
Yeah, I still think it's subjective, and I would vote against it.
Morris, I would support it, of course, but because it's already better than what we have, and we had something 30 years ago, and what we have today, it's got to be better and a lot more knowledge in what has transpired out here. Much better ways in handling or detecting, so at least it's a start. You're not.
We're certainly open to any
Yeah.
reasonable suggestions that you have.
I think it's a great start.
I think a few things have come up along the way. Something came up at the Building and Construction Advisory Committee that we hadn't included, so it's included now.
I'd make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we accept Mr. Richardson's submittal here today.
I'll second.
Okay, you got a motion by Henry, a second by Brian. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
That motion passed.
Thank you very much, Board. Good to see you all. Thank you for your service here very much.
We're going to ask for a raise.
Double.
Double your salary.
That's
yeah.
right.
Okay, if no one else has anything, well, meeting adjourned.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.